Hello and welcome to Dojo Live this Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. My name is Kim Landis and it's my pleasure to be hosting alongside Sridhar Padmanabhan today. Hello, Sridhar.
Hey, Kim.
I think maybe has you beat in terms of experience in travel and hospitality today. That is none other than David Millili, who is the CEO of LodgIQ. David, we're so excited to be able to speak with you and learn more about your company and what it is that you're doing for the industry. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, I feel a little intimidated to have you on the opposite side of the mic. I know that you're also a podcast host, so thank you. This is a great experience for all of us. We really look forward to learning from you. We're going to be diving into commercial strategy platforms, what that means for travel and hospitality. But before we do, we'd really like to get to know a bit more of the David Millili story, sort of your passion, your background, and how that's led up to your time with LodgIQ. If you could please share with us.
Sure. So I'll make it quick, as you said, and we were talking before the show. I'm old, so I got a long history. But I was going to.
I did not say that.
So basically, I was at University of Pittsburgh, needed a job. My best friend at the time was at Cornell and said, "Just go to a hotel and you'll get a job." And rode my bike downtown Pittsburgh, got a job as a union busboy, making $6.50 an hour, $21 union fees a month. And I just got bit by the hotel bug. I just knew I didn't want to do food and beverage, but just loved being on property and just kind of loved the excitement of the city and the hotel. And ended up going to FIU, working in a bunch of hotels in South Florida, then coming to New York. And I really had determined that I wanted to take the independent hotel route because I didn't want to limit myself to how I had to move up the ladder. If I wanted to be GM by the time I was 25, which I was, that's what I wanted to do. So in New York, I ended up opening up a small 80-room hotel in Times Square. Was with the youngest GM in New York City at the time. And, just stayed independent. That's when hotels.com was launching. It was 1-800-96-HOTEL before they even had the internet or a website. Moved over to the Belvedere Hotel and then got the opportunity to join an internet startup. And that kind of changed my life. In 1999, I moved from the operations side to tech and had to start a couple tech companies. Probably the most well-known was Open Hospitality, which did booking engine, website, digital marketing. We were the first of the kind in 2004, sold that to Pegasus, and then was fortunate enough to become CEO of Pegasus when the divisions were broken up. That was 2012 to 2014, and then had a bunch of different roles, CEO of a company called Runtriz, which is a guest engagement app. We did all Caesars food and beverage mobile ordering. I'm fortunate enough I was a professor at NYU. I'm currently on NYU's incubator as a mentor, and I've had a lot of different advisory roles, and currently chairman of GAIN, which is a big advisory group. Have my podcast, The Modern Hotelier, and currently am CEO of LodgIQ, which is a commercial strategy platform.
Whew. It's absolutely fantastic. I think there's very few parts of the industry that you've yet to dabble in. Is that right? I think you mentioned airlines and there was one others.
That's on the hospitality side, everything from loyalty, property management system, CRS, distribution, mobile apps, gateways, Hotspot 2.0, all the fun stuff.
Perfect. Now, today's topic of conversation, of course, is the holy grail of the hospitality industry, being the commercial strategy platform. Let's dive a bit into who LodgIQ is, the problem that you're solving, and what you mean by the term. Well, I mean, we know what we mean by the term the holy grail, but what that really means for the industry.
Well, at our core, LodgIQ, is our brain is a revenue management platform, but what's happened in the industry is we have such great information inside there that really the other silos, marketing, sales, revenue management, they really don't talk to each other the way they should. So LodgIQ, we have focused on actually putting action behind what everybody's talking about. So everyone's talking about commercial strategy. The Rock event that happens in Charlotte during High Tech has changed to the Commercial Strategy Conference. But we still find that everyone's just still doing revenue management. We are now serving up our data so that marketing and sales can leverage that to make better decisions, to make the hotel more profitable. So it's a situation where, hotels still are having a tough time adopting technology, AI, things of that nature. And we're trying to challenge the industry to continue to push the hoteliers to adopt technology to improve their profitability.
I love that mission. I love that vision in terms of, we said here, through the commercial strategy and specifically the platform, right? We're going to be seeing increased collaboration, innovation, profitability. I then imagine this is sort of cyclic, right? That one just then leads to the next. Where's, in all of this, the best place to start, or how does it get going, that cycle?
Well, I like a lot of analogies. So for me, I would ask you, I'd ask the audience, when's the last time you used a physical map to get to your destination?
Oh gosh.
Right.
Does MapQuest count? And that was probably a good 15 years ago.
So this is kind of the point. And this is where, when we talk to our industry, it's like, you would never use a map today because a GPS is going to help you get to your destination, tell you when you should get to your destination, tell you if there's an accident, tell you how the traffic is, give you alternative routes. And it basically just streamlines all those things, rather than in the past, you'd have a map, you'd have your car radio on to a news station to see if there was an accident. So what we're trying to make sure that hotels are doing are adopting AI and technology to make better decisions more efficiently. And that's really kind of our mantra. So at Logic, we basically have built a platform that is mobile. So revenue managers, marketing managers can have it when they're on the train or if they're at home. I know we already work enough, but people still are on their phone. And a lot of times that's where we're most comfortable. Our platform is very intuitive. There's no manual needed. If you're a revenue manager or a marketing manager, you could log in and just figure it out. We're leveraging AI so that you could put the system on autopilot so that your rates could be changed without you having to go in and make a decision. You could just set parameters, not really parameters, but really just set it up so that it will check X amount of hours. And then if something does happen in the market, it'll make that change. A great example is, a city like New York, where a lot of the traffic is and visitors and guests are coming from Europe. There's things that are happening when people are asleep in New York City, those revenue managers. Well, our platform's awake and it's making educated and smart decisions to make sure the hotel's not missing out on any revenue.
That's an absolute fabulous analogy. It makes sense. And I thought New York was a city that never sleeps, but
Right.
perfect. Sridhar, what's your take on this? What are you hearing?
I think this is fascinating from many perspectives. I can see that, your platform is for the smaller hotel chains. I'm curious how this works for management groups on one side. On the other side, when even if it is a smaller independent hotels and resorts, when they look at how does this help them, I mean, what do management groups do with this? I had one question. And then you had the platforms that are desperately trying to sell, and they have their own ways of optimizing top line, bottom line, and they're also working 24/7. So I just wanted to get a sense of, what's your view for management groups and the benefit of using Logic, you know, the constant pressure of working with OTAs.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So our AI and our algorithm model is what we refer to as a willingness to buy model. So we take in a lot of factors. So we take in historical data for the hotel, on the book data, what's happening in the marketplace, events, airline data, and then we also look at comp set. When revenue management first started, it was more of this, okay, as my occupancy goes up, my rates go up. If my occupancy is not moving, reduce my
Right.
rate. We're well past that. And so what we do is we really pull all this data in that a human, an individual couldn't do on their own,
Right.
and making suggestions on everything down to what the rate should be, restrictions, length of stay, close to arrival. We also have group modules, so we can go in and tell a hotel, okay, this group wants to come in on these dates. Here's what we believe you should sell those rooms for. But hey, maybe that group, that's too expensive. So within a 60-day period, here's 2 alternative dates where that group could check in. So we've got portfolio reporting. So for management groups, they can see how all their hotels are doing in one platform. There's always this talk of a single screen. We give hotel and management companies the ability to look at how their hotels are performing, look how a market's performing. And we don't do that all on our own. We have great partners. So we connect out to whether it be Lighthouse data, Demand 360, STR data. Like I said, we pull in event data, airfare data. So it's really, if you think about it, it's kind of, it's a way for the hotel to really efficiently see what's going on and either make a decision on their own or allow the system to make a decision for them.
Fascinating. While I've been working with companies in this space for a while, I'm very happy I bumped into you and your company today. I did not know that this is the state of the art where, these models are currently available. So, Kim, that was my first question. So,
Perfect. You mentioned first question. Is there a second question?
there could be. I probably have plenty of questions, but
all right.
yeah.
I'm curious in terms of like, if we want to bring it back to the commercial strategy component, we dipped into the RMS a bit just now. You've been mentioning the other 2 sides of this 3-sided coin. What is this, a pyramid? I don't know. But we're talking also about sales and marketing. So how are you then getting this information to them? What does that collaboration piece look like? And how is this so important to basically the innovation side and ultimately increasing profitability?
Well, we've all been there when you're on property and you have a problem and you can't fix a problem, especially with today's booking windows, if you're not ahead of it. So we can share data with marketing to say, hey, we don't really need any help. So let's say, okay, tomorrow's going to be May 1st. May's good. May's over. Marketing's not going to move the needle in May, but I'm really struggling in July. So don't focus on August or September. I need help for July. So we serve up and show, okay, here's how the booking window is. Here's what's on the books. Here's where we were last year. So what's the issue? We can even show you if there's events, we can even match up the dates for the 2 different years. So in other words, if an event happens May 1st in 2024, it might have been an April 30th event in 2023. So if you're looking at May 1st, you've missed that event. So we do things of that nature. For sales, like I said, with the groups, we know what the displaced revenue is. When you put a group in, we can help say you should take this group business or you shouldn't. Our system goes down to the segment level. So we're currently working with a partner who is focused on driving more direct bookings. So what they're doing is they're sharing with us the web traffic. Where's the customer coming from? Is it from Germany? They're looking on these dates. They're checking this room type. They're staying with 2 children. We're absorbing that data, but then we're going back to them and saying, hey, this is a very, very high demand period. Don't retarget them with some sort of promotion or discount. Retarget them with, you better book now because the hotel is going to sell out. And then the reverse of that is, hey, this is a high demand period. So our a low demand period. So we got to get this person. They've been on the website 3 times. They're coming from a week. They're coming to New York City. They're coming from Germany. It's a family. They're probably going to spend a lot in food and beverage and things of that nature. So let's get them a guaranteed early check-in. Let's give them free breakfast. Let's give them a promotion. So a lot of times we just react. Somebody leaves our website and we say, oh, we got to go get them. Well, get them for what? We don't want to just go get them to book them when we could have booked somebody at a higher rate, and vice versa. We don't want to lose that guest because, we could have offered them an early check-in. We're running 60% occupancy. That's not an issue. So let's let them know and let them feel, wow, we're flying in from Germany. We get in at 8 a.m. The hotel's telling us we can get right into our room. That's when you're taking, we all know we travel international. The worst thing is when you get to the front desk, they say your room's not ready. So these are the ways that we're trying to leverage the data that is so powerful in our system to help these other departments in the hotel make better decisions. Because again, a lot of times they're not seeing that. They're just heads down marketing. We got our budget. Let's spend the money. And, they're pumping. I always tell people, if you're driving people, and I keep using New York, I don't know why, but I'm going to stick with it. If you're driving people to the first 2 weeks of December, what are you doing? These people are just coming to your website, they're clicking, it's sold out, you're done. You don't need help for the first 2 weeks of December. You're going to sell out. But January, February, yeah, come up with something creative. Let's see, how can I push that rate? What do I really need to be? And it's not all about comp set, because if you determine as a hotelier that you're going to base your rates off of your comp set, you've basically said my comp set's smarter than me. And that's not a very good approach, because you got to be ahead of it. You got to know what's going on, and just little things. And everybody uses the Swifty stuff now, but Taylor Swift adds an event to your city, or extends her concert. You got to know that right away, and you got to be on top of it, and you got to change your rates, because there is an effect there. And there's other things outside of Taylor Swift that obviously affect us, but that's just one kind of glaring example of how one event can really kind of change a city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it comes back to, I think, the timing of this, the things that we can maybe foresee, and the things that happen that nobody saw coming. In terms of this commercial strategy and the way the platform works, how far back in data, are you finding that hotels could and should sort of utilize that to sort of project what might be happening in the future? What does this planning look like? When should I be planning for July of 2025, for example?
Well, it all depends. I mean, I will tell you, our data science team, no data is too much data. I mean, they want all the data they can get. So the more historical data we can get, the better. Obviously, COVID, 2020 was the outlier, and kind of, a lot of people just kind of said, well, we can't look at 2020. We got to look at 2019. We're past that now. But the more data you can get in the system, the better the system will be able to make the right decisions when it comes to pricing and restrictions, and tell you, are you on target? I mean, are you going to hit your numbers, hit your forecast, or you need to do something? So in our case, always more data, the better. So whatever we can get. That's why we've partnered with a company that gives us the website data, because everyone's trying to push more direct bookings.
Right.
But to get more direct bookings, you need to know what's happening on your website.
Right.
And a lot of times hoteliers aren't, not going down to the granular of what country are they coming from, what room category. Same thing with upgrades. So how are you going to move that person up? You got them in at a deluxe double. How do you get them into a junior suite or to a suite? So we've had, discussions with companies like Nor1, which are part of Oracle, and how do we do a better job of sharing information so that we can, squeeze might be the wrong word, but get the most we can out of that guest and get the right rate. And again, not always just to increase the revenue, but to get the booking and not lose that booking. So it's not just about, a money grab and trying to, squeeze the guest. It's also just trying to make sure that we don't lose that guest, because whatever effort we've done to get them to the website, we want them to book there. So it's data is really the name of the game.
Well, thank you. And this comes actually a question from our audience, from Antonio Osuna. He's asking, how do you address the challenge of marketing and sales using different tools and platforms for each department, especially when it comes to migrations? Additionally, does this contribute to data silos?
Well, obviously, not everything's going to be connected. We all know that. I mean, if you look at the hospitality landscape, if you went back, you would say, well, we've got a property management system. Why do we need a CRS? We got a CRS. Why do we need a channel manager? I don't think it's a challenge. I think what we do is we basically give say in this case where he's saying marketing and sales, we're actually giving them information that they can use in those outlying systems. So if we can give them a better insight as to what's happening, they can make better decisions in those other systems. So we're not going to, we may, but we're not going to connect, for example, into Google paid ads. But if we can help them say, hey, this is where you should be shifting your budget. You can do geo-targeted. You're not getting guests from Spain. You got guests from Spain last year. Your mobile traffic or mobile bookings are down. Push it there. These are the segments that are missing. We can go and say, okay, we need more groups. Let the sales team know our group business is down. We're not going to meet our forecast. So it's not that everything has to be integrated, but the systems and platforms that can be integrated and can pull that data together to give you a better understanding of what's happening is going to be much more efficient for me to go from, I have another laptop over here, to go from my computer to this computer, make a decision, versus me going, printing something, looking at it, flipping through 3 tabs. So I don't think we'll solve everything, not yet, but this data will help you be much more efficient in using outside platforms. Hope that helped, Antonio.
Yeah, I definitely think that it did. I guess, Sridhar, did you have another question that you'd like to ask? I do have kind of one more.
Why don't you go for it? I have a
Perfect.
question ready, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, we've got time. We've got time. So I was talking, in your example here of, transferring from one computer to the other. And my question is still the sense of like ownership and control. So when this data is pushed to sales or to marketing, what does that look like in terms of the recommendations or like the ability to make sense of this data? Who then is sort of making the decision on what's the next move? How are you helping with that piece of the
So
puzzle?
this part of us evolving, or Logic evolving into a commercial strategy platform, is a work in progress. What we've done is, one of the worst things you can do is talk about silos, vacuum, is for us to think that we're the smartest people, and just take my experience, take other people like Noe on my team or PJ. We have interviewed dozens of chief commercial officers, marketing and salespeople, and we're currently amassing that data to make sure that we're delivering it in the way that they want to see it, so they can most efficiently use that data. So for us, it's not us saying, here's the data, you go figure it out. We're saying, what do you need? How do you want to see it? So, a great example is when I first started at Logic, we had a meeting with a group of revenue managers, and they said, oh, let me show you my Excel report. I export everything from Logic and I put it in Excel so I can move it all around. And I said, well, what if we just give it to you the way you want it in the platform so you don't have to export it? And it was kind of like this, oh, well, we're used to using Excel, blah, blah. But, that's, breaking these habits and getting people to also just share information. Like I said, we've got a lot of smart people. But my rule in life has always been surround myself with smarter people. And we're trying to take, some of the top chief commercial officers, or you go to our website or go to LinkedIn page, you'll see some of the interviews, and let them tell us, what do you need? What's going to make your life better? What's going to make it easier for you? Because again, the best compliment you can get when you present your platform or your system to a hotelier is for them to say, wow, you really got, I can tell hoteliers were involved in this, and you guys put a lot of thought in your platform. The last thing you want is for them to say, well, why is this there? And I need this data, and you didn't give me this, but you gave me that. So we're not only looking for to gather more information on what chief commercial officers, chief marketing officers, chief revenue officers want, we're also adding some tools into our system that will allow them to do some customized reporting. Because again, a 2-star group of hotels versus maybe a 4-star, they might want to look at different metrics and different things. So we're building in some very, very interesting components that will allow hoteliers to build out their custom reports along with our kind of canned reports, for lack of a better term.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Just the entire research component, the UI UX piece, the design-led thinking that we've talked about quite a bit here on the show as of late. And it's sort of like to get it right the first time, right? Which might seem like the slow way to work at the beginning, but in the long run, it's definitely going to be most beneficial. Perfect. We're coming down to the final 5 minutes of the show. So Sridhar, now or never, what's that question that you have for David?
So I think, David, from a management group, if they're working with big companies, then those big companies probably have their own revenue management and pricing recommendations and market data and things like that, right? And chances are that when they see your data, there might be either more data or a different kind of a recommendation. So how do management groups deal with that on part? That's a part A. And then the part B of that is that when you have a single corporate and they have their own, sources and various other things, chances are that your data might actually be better than because you're pulling from other sources, or you know just the way that iteration happens and things like that. So you have these two groups of stakeholders. Any final thoughts on how you work with these different groups?
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's a bold statement. We have the best marketing data across the board. So when we get in front of management groups or hotel groups, if they're using our competitors for a pure revenue management platform, they still basically go, wow, not only does your platform look better than what we're using, you've got data that we don't have that we want. So our system, we basically can break out components or modules, and we can go to a management group and sell just our marketing data, just our business intelligence, our forecasting, or even our group module. We've got some partners right now that are in the sales and catering technology space that we're integrating, where they can actually send us requests and we'll send them back the group pricing. And I think, at the end of the day, we're also running into people who, when you're an ownership group, you hire a management company and then your hotel can be branded. You are then dictated to using certain platforms. What a lot of these management companies are now looking to do is leverage our platform as a kind of almost like a spot check. So to say, okay, well, XYZ brand is saying we should sell for $199. Logic's saying $205. Where did we shake out? And we're not pushing rates back in, but they're looking at us saying, okay, well, let me get another set of eyes. But we are talking to brands and talking to a lot of management companies and groups and a lot of independent hotels. So we're kind of one of those new startups or mature startups where COVID kind of hit us pretty hard, like many companies, and we kind of just focused on product and keeping our existing customers running. And we really last year started focusing on the commercial side for the company, and then also the commercial strategy side for the company and the platform.
Totally get it, David. Thanks for that. Because clearly, for smaller independent hotels, just to stand up the infrastructure to try and get this data or to digest it and let alone analyze it is going to be a huge task, right? So for them,
Right.
the appeal of a platform or your suite of solutions would be very interesting. So thanks for that. It gives me a better understanding of how groups and corporates would look at it.
Yeah, always happy to give you a demo whenever you want.
Yes, we could do that here on the show too later on. But perfect. I guess the final question as we're coming to our last few minutes of the show is just bringing it back to you, David, with all of your experience, you had mentioned also coming through out of COVID with Logic. What might be some final words of advice that you might have for folks in the industry? What's coming? What should they pay attention to? Perhaps we've used this word embrace. What should this be looking like?
Well, I think, if you're a vendor, my take is that you can use technology to improve the guest experience, and you can use technology to improve your sales efforts. There is a line when once you kind of take out the personalization, it can really damage that. So I think a hotel is a little safer because if I use a check-in kiosk and then I can interact with a bellman or at the bar or at the restaurant, I'm still going to get that. Hoteliers, I think, or the vendor side, there's too many people relying on just email cadences and generic stuff, and everyone's getting beat up. It's not my competition is not the other commercial strategy or revenue management platforms. It's every cloud-based PMS, CRS, marketing company that is bombarding these hoteliers. And so I would say, you're very fortunate. A lot of people hear me say this. I'm the old guy, so I didn't have a LinkedIn when I started my company. I had to call the hotel and try to hide in the bush to find out who the GM was coming out. So leverage that information and be personable. And don't always. I always tell people my secret sauce when I sold into hotels would be after I showed a PowerPoint, I'd say, "Hey, can I see a couple rooms?" That gave me a minute away from the computer. It gave me an elevator ride. I could talk to them like a GM and say, wow, I really like what you did with the room. You have outlets here. Wow, your amenities are great. Wow, quality towels. Then all of a sudden you're a person. And I think too many times we just worry about our product and the email cadence and, hey, I didn't hear back from you. What's wrong? And then you're sitting there going, man, if I get another one of these emails, I want to go crazy. And so, LinkedIn gives you a great spot where you can say, hey, I see you worked for Marriott. Now you're working for Viceroy. What was that change like? Blah, 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 things of that nature. You went to this school, or this is your volunteer here, or this or that. So I know everyone gets a little sensitive around LinkedIn being too social media, Facebook, Instagram like, but I think there is a balance that works out for both parties, where if you don't, cross the line and are not always just posting personal stuff, and just post some stuff that, shows more about who you are and who your company is. That would just be the advice I give to people. Just try to be a little more genuine and not just assume that because you have a great product, people are going to be knocking down your door to buy it.
I think that's absolutely wise, and always brings the people, the human, back to the hospitality, right? That's
Right.
always what it's going to be about. Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing all about Logic with us, all about the commercial strategy platforms, the why this is useful, and of course, how we need to always keep the reason for what we're doing in mind, and that's our guests. So wishing you, of course, and Logic nothing but the best throughout your transition into this new strategy. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do go off air, I would like to remind our guests that we do have a second show this week that's coming up on Thursday. Thursday, the 2nd of May, also at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific. It's going to be the second segment of our second series with Provision Partners. This time, we're going to be talking all about what we talked about here, and that is going to be the data side. We're going to be joined again by David Chesler, as well as Nagaraj Sastry of Ancora, VP of Data and Analytics. So do catch that show. You won't regret it. So thank you so much. And thank you once again, everyone. Bye for now.